Can we trust the Bible as a source of information? The Bible makes a number of claims about God, about reality, about history. And many of these claims we know we cannot corroborate through any other means. The Bible makes claims about certain historical events, things that happened in ancient history, and we don't have, at least today, any other record that mentions the same events, any way to back up these stories. The Bible might be our only source of some of this information. So should we trust it if it cannot be corroborated? I think this comes down to an issue of how do we test sources of information? How do we decide whether the source of information should be trusted to begin with? I'll give you kind of an example. A police officer might respond to a call of a crime, maybe an attempted break-in at a house. The police officer rolls out and he contacts the victim. And the victim says, yeah, I was home alone all day and I heard a knock on my front door, but I didn't think much of it. But a short while later, I heard the back window of my house break. And when I looked out the window, I saw a man standing outside my house. And I guess he must have thought that I wasn't home, because as soon as he saw me, he started running away. I looked out the window, he ran to a blue car, got in the blue car, and drove off. So then I called the police. Well, the police officer's job a lot of times is simply to take the statement of the victim or witness. The crime's already happened, the suspect's already long gone, and now the police officer's in documentation mode. So they're going to take down the statement of the victim or witness and whatever they tell them. But they're not going to stop there. The police officer will likely walk around the house and look for additional evidence that was left by the incident. For example, the window. The police officer is going to go inspect that window, and they're going to actually in their report include any of their observations about the window. Now, what's the purpose of that? I mean, the victim already said the window got broken by a suspect. So why would a police officer then, who's already put in the report, suspect broke the window, then go over and also include in the report, hey, when I got there, I saw the window was still broken and I saw some glass on the ground, whatever the observations are. Well, the purpose is the police officer is trying to corroborate as much of the story as possible. There's some parts of the story that the police officer cannot corroborate. The police officer cannot know or corroborate whether the witness or victim saw the person run to the blue car and leave. The blue car is already gone. The police officer can't observe that. But there's some parts of the story that the police officer may immediately be able to corroborate, like the broken window. When the police officer goes and sees the window is broken and it's in the same manner that the victim or witness is describing, that supports a portion of the story that's being told. And that can give us confidence that the person telling the story about the broken window is trustworthy. Because we can trust part of the story, we can have confidence in trusting the other part, that it was broken by a man who ran to a blue car, that we cannot independently verify anymore. If the police officer went to the window and it was not broken, that would give us some cause for concern. Maybe the person, the information source, the witness or the victim, maybe they're not telling the truth about what happened. Maybe there was never an attempted break-in, or maybe it happened in a different manner and we no longer can trust the statement of the victim. If the window's not broken, maybe there never was a man, and maybe there was never a blue car. But if the window is broken, then we can have some sort of trust or faith that there really was a man and he really went to a blue car, because we're getting it all from the same source that we believe is trustworthy. Okay, I think we can think about the Bible kind of along the same lines. There's certain parts of the Bible that we may not be able to independently corroborate, but there's other parts that we can. The Bible makes a number of claims that we know are true. For example, the beginning of the universe. The Bible says the universe began, and then in modern science, long after the writing of the Bible, we discover that, yeah, the universe really did begin. There's many historical events in the Bible that we now have corroborating evidence. Other historical documents, other historians from the past who talked about those events, or other pieces of archaeological evidence that would tell us that the stories in the Bible are true. For example, Pontius Pilate is a character that Jesus interacts with in the New Testament. For a long time, we weren't sure if Pontius Pilate, in history, historians would say they were not sure if Pontius Pilate really lived, because the only time he was mentioned was in the Bible. But then, much later, archaeological evidence discovered that Pontius Pilate was a real person, and he was the guy that the Bible described him to be. So we start to corroborate certain portions of the Bible. It's kind of like that story of the person who attempted to break into the home. We may not be able to corroborate every story that's in the Bible. We definitely can't now, and perhaps we may never. Some of these stories in the Bible talk about events that are so ancient that any other corroborating evidence may have been lost or destroyed by this point. We may never find it, even through hundreds of years more of archaeology. We may never be able to corroborate every single story of the Bible. And there's definitely claims about God or reality that we may not be able to corroborate through some outside source. But we can feel confident in trusting those parts of the Bible because so many other parts can be corroborated. See, we're going to test the Bible as best we can. We may not be able to actually test every statement or claim that the Bible makes, but when we have the opportunity to test it, we should test it. And the fact of the matter is that the Bible will pass these tests. See, the Bible, when we can test it, will always prove to be trustworthy. So in those parts of the Bible that we don't have that corroborative evidence, where we go, oh man, there's nothing else in history or science or any evidence around us that would tell us that this is true, we can still have faith that that is a trustworthy, a true event or claim about the reality, because we know that the source, the Bible, is trustworthy. Just like we learned that the source, the victim on the attempt break-in, was trustworthy because part of their claim could be backed up, then we knew the rest of the claim was trustworthy. So I don't want to get too concerned if there's parts of the Bible that we can't corroborate through history, archaeology, science, that the rest of the evidence is silent on. We just can't know one way or another on these certain issues. We can still have trust, faith that those things are true, because the Bible is a trustworthy document because of the areas that we could test it in.